Friends, this is my size 58 Ride 1-Up Roadster V2. Long name, I know. It currently sits here chain driven, and today we're gonna swap it to belt drive. This show is called Tinker Tuesday. It's almost weekly, and it's brought to you by my friends over at Park Tool. So if you're familiar with Ride 1-Up's Roadster, you actually already know that this bike comes spec'd with belt drive. And that is really cool, which might lead you to ask, why did you swap out the belt drive? And the simple answer to that is, belt drive components are just a little bit harder to come across for changing up the gearing on a bike. And the gearing that they spec on this bike is just a little tall for where I ride. And I knew that I was gonna play with this bike off-road a little bit. So, of course, I got to tinkering. I couldn't help but wonder, is it chain compatible? Can I even make the swap? And the cool thing about the Roadster, especially the motor on the Roadster, where the belt drive cog was, underneath, take everything off, HG free hub body. That means any chain cog, anything can go on here and you can swap everything over to chain drive, no problem. So I'm gonna show you how easy this is. And the whole thing starts like any other drivetrain project, taking the rear wheel off to gain access to the cog lock ring. So hardly any different than taking a cassette or anything else off of any other regular bike. It's just this, instead of it being like a normal cassette tool, it's actually a freewheel tool. Good to know. Oh. Check it out. Look at this. HG free hub body. It's not really lost on me that for some of you, you might not fully understand why this is exciting, but basically what it means is it's almost cross-compatible to any type of drivetrain that you can think of. All cassettes, like all of the clusters of gears that exist, will pretty well slide on this, save for some annoying mountain bike stuff. Most e-bikes use like a thread-on freewheel, which limits the ability to change anything almost completely. That and the axle is just not as strong. This actually matters, I'm not just saying that. All right, belt drive cog back on. I'm gonna swap the cranks now because that's a super easy job. That brings us to the chain. See, the chain is actually kind of like stuck in here. It's a continuous loop and you can't just, like it doesn't, you have to break it to open it up and get it out. See, it's an easy enough thing to do. See, chains are designed to have their pins pushed out so that you can open them up to get them into the frame so that you can actually have a chain. Well, a belt is all one piece. You can't actually break a belt open and get it back together. See, it looks like you might almost get it, but this is not working. Like you need to get this to in here. So because something has to give, well, it happens in the frame. See, this frame is bolted together with two chainring style bolts right here. You undo these and you can separate the, you can separate the dropout and you can fish this in. So, as I hope you could tell from this video, it's like a pretty easy process, especially with this thing because it does have that really convenient HG free hub body on the hub, the motor. And of course it has the square taper bottom bracket, which means it's just crank arms pulled off, put on, too easy. And I hope you did get to learn one of the difficulties of trying to maybe retrofit any frame with a belt drive setup. Of course, you have to have the ability to get the frame opened up in a way to get the belt on. Now, I had gone down the belt drive conversion rabbit hole before and found a company, I'm gonna put it here, that has like belts that will pin together at 4 or 5 different spots, almost acting like a chain. So that would really open up a lot of opportunities to put a belt drive on any frame. But the next thing that you would need to figure out if you're gonna do a retrofit is something I didn't have to do at all. What like belt length do you need? See, when you buy a chain, you just end up with a bunch of extra links and then you size it and cut it to the length that you need for it to fit the bike and the gear ratio that you chose. With a belt, you kind of have to get it right out of the gate. That's kind of a pun. And thankfully, Gates Belt Drive has actually thought of this, so they created an app that wants you to put in the minimum and maximum lengths of chainstay that you could have, and then you tell it what gear ratio you want to run. And it'll spit out the belt length that you need, and then you just buy it. I personally have never done that. In this case here, I just put back on the entire belt drive that came off the bike. All of that nonsensical rambling out of the way completed, that does bring us to the end of this episode of Tinker Tuesday. As always, I want to show my appreciation to all of you who provide super thanks support for this show in the comments down below. They're always featured here at the ends of videos. Last video, I really appreciate it. I don't know that I can fully make it clear just how much of a difference that support makes on an episode basis, but then a monthly basis to keep this whole project being sustainable. And then, of course, if bike mechanics, tinkering, messing with stuff interests you, you should really check the link below. It'll take you to the Park Tool product page on Jenson USA, where you can browse and peruse and find all of your lifetime bicycle tools. Thanks for hanging out here this episode. Tomorrow is a gravel bike race training update. Some of you have been asking.